Greetings, everybody. Happy Saturday. My favorite day of the week. We got a lot to get to. Of course, that's Ozzy Osbourne with some bumper music. Let that play just a little bit. There's some Perry Mason right there. Oh! Alright folks, let's get right to it. Welcome to another program of Metalhead Michael. So glad to be with you. And yes, we will be talking about the one and only, the great Ozzy Osbourne and his passing this past Tuesday afternoon. I was very, very upset about the whole thing. Still am trying to process it, but we'll talk about that just a little bit more later on. I hope everybody's doing well. It's been a long time since I've gotten back on. A lot has happened. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to get to. I had like a 5-week class at NC State, and it's like getting a fire hose pointed at you when all you want to do is take a drink of water, right? It just went by in a blur. But I know it's been about 5 weeks since I've been on because of that, or maybe a little shorter time period to that. But it's been a while nonetheless. But there's a lot that has happened. Most importantly, Ozzy Osbourne's death on Tuesday, July 22nd, and its impact, and just a discussion of his legacy for sure. Let's get right to the answer to the previous trivia question, which involved Ozzy Osbourne, because as you recall, we were getting ready, my last Metalhead Michael episode, we were getting ready to embark upon the Back to the Beginning concert, and that was going to be a virtual concert that we were going to watch, and I did get to see that, but the trivia question kind of dealt with that. It was, what was the first album that Zakary Wilde played on for Ozzy Osbourne? And that, of course, was No Rest for the Wicked. I remember when this album came out, I was super, super excited. I actually watched the night before, on Saturday nights, Headbangers Ball, the debut of this album, and the debut of Zakary Wilde, that did a MTV interview with Ricky Rackman. And for those of y'all who don't know Ricky Rackman, just ask your parents, by the way. They did an interview with him and Ozzy and the discussion of the new album, No Rest for the Wicked, and they played an MTV exclusive debut album. And so at the time, that was when you watched stuff on Saturday, and on the next Sunday or the next Monday, you went out to the record store and you bought it. And that's exactly what I did. And I bought the LP, the vinyl version, and the cassette version, because that's what I did when I was a kid. And I played the cassette version for my friends, and nobody was into it really. They were like, Ozzy, we're not into Ozzy, we're into other stuff. It was in the 80s. It was a different time, different era. I was kind of the only metalhead in my group. But it was only until like months and months later when Zakary Wilde, people realized that Zakary Wilde was a kick-ass fucking guitarist, that they really got into it. And I was like, see, that's what I told you guys. I told you this was a kick-ass album. You just didn't want to listen to me at the time. Now that he's like, made a name for himself, you all want to, act like you were into it from the get-go when you weren't. That's the kind of group I hung around. That was what being a metalhead in the 1980s really was all about. But anywho, I digress just a little. The answer to the previous trivia question was No Rest for the Wicked by Ozzy Osbourne, Zakary Wilde's first album with Ozzy Osbourne, of course. All right, folks, let's get to the concert review. Back to the beginning. That was the first virtual festival tour that I have attended, and I can tell you that I was really, really pleased with this concert. I was pleased with the way I was able to hook it up to my big screen TV and sit in Fort living room and watch it. I had the privilege of watching it with my old concert partner who came over, and we watched it together from 11 o'clock in the morning until about 8 or 9 o'clock at night. We ordered pizza, drank a few beers, had a really good time. It was amazing and an amazing show. And I'm so glad that all these bands that showed up really represented Ozzy, Black Sabbath, and his whole career for sure. If I'm not mistaken, none of the bands took a paycheck. All of the proceeds went to Parkinson's disease support groups, and I think that was really cool. Some incredible bands that I wanted to mention that had some just golden memory performances. The first one was Hailstorm. Hailstorm played Perry Mason, opened up with Perry Mason, which opened up this Metalhead Michael program and this episode. And God, Lizzie Hale and her vocals just rips, just unbelievable. And she did one of her famous freak screams during this song, which stole the show, really. So that's what of course, Mastodon opened the whole thing up with the performance. But Lizzie Hale and Hailstorm was the first band to play. Excuse me, taking a sip of beer there. And they played Perry Mason and just brought the house down with Perry Mason for sure. In addition to their own set that they did, which included Love Bites, and just a whole bunch of good stuff from Hailstorm. I will give a shout out and an honorable mention to Tool as well. Tool, first of all, I'd like to thank Tool for playing in the daylight and showing all their faces instead of staying in silhouette. Thank you very much, and allowing for cameras to be at the show. But they did 46 and 2. Excuse me. They did 46 and 2, and it was a flawless, absolute flawless performance. This 46 and 2 song that they did, in addition to their whole set. But when they did 46 and 2, I was just amazed. And some things have broken online and like X and TikTok, where they have centralized Maynard's vocals for this song in particular, and it is perfect. It's flawless. Some of the comments on X and TikTok and YouTube and everything, all the other social platforms, was that they don't grow old, they ascend. They just get better, like a good bottle of wine. And I truly, truly do believe that with this performance. So Tool's 46 and 2 gets an honorable mention for sure, as well as Lamb of God, Children of the Grave. They did Children of the Grave by Black Sabbath, and that was a really, really good performance. So my shout out goes to Hailstorm, Tool, and Lamb of God. The whole show kicked freaking ass completely. Pantera, Anthrax, Zakk Wylde supporting Ozzy as he always does, and of course the Black Sabbath performance at the end of the show. We'll get a little bit more into that later on when we pay homage to Ozzy Osbourne and his career and his legacy. But those are 3 honorable mentions I wanted to go over. Back to the beginning. Great concert. Great cause. And of course, Ozzy Osbourne's last performance with the Ozzy Osbourne band and with Black Sabbath, because he died very shortly thereafter, this past Tuesday. All right, folks, let's get to the shameless plug of the episode. Alright folks, it's time for this episode, this program, shameless plug. These are, of course, are products and services that I believe in and people that I know personally. I take great pride and great privilege in giving them a shameless plug and knowing them personally for sure. Once again, this week's shameless plug. This week's shameless plug is Pajama Party by Infamous Light. We have done this before, folks. We're going to do it again right here and right now. My favorite part of the song right there. All right, folks, are you ready for some crazy gaming fun? Check out the one and only Pajama Party by Infamous Light exclusively on Twitch. This is this week's shameless plug. Infamous Light is the host of the #1 gaming site in the Raleigh region, folks, and I do not make this stuff up. The stats prove it. If you want to go have an amazing time that goes on until the wee hours of the morning, then Pajama Party on Infamous Light is definitely the way to go. I often, and I do mean often, just about every chance I get, put the Pajama Party on while I'm working the graveyard shift, and it helps keep me awake throughout the whole night. Highlights included, folks. It is hilarious. You will have a good time if you join the Pajama Party on Infamous Light. It's nothing but a good time, like the Poison song says. So check it out if you're into gaming or you just want to be a part of the great time. It's Infamous Light, all lowercase letters. That's INFAMOUS_LITE. That's Infamous Light, all lowercase letters at the exclusive Pajama Party. Don't miss this good time. And as always, just remember, folks, that just because it's called Pajama Party doesn't mean that pajamas are required. And that is when things really get fun and interesting. So check it out. It's Infamous Light, INFAMOUS_LITE on Twitch. Come and join the Pajama Party fun. All right, folks, that is this week's shameless plug. And once again, always keep in mind with my shameless plugs on Metal Michael programs that these are products and services I believe in and people that I know personally. And that's why I give them a shameless plug. For sure, absolutely. All right, folks, next on Metalhead Michael program, I wanted to talk to you about the Summer of Loud 2025 tour before I get into anything else. I did not know that this tour existed. I just looked it up between our last Metalhead Michael program and this one, and I was shocked to learn that this tour was in existence and was going around, because I usually do my research on tours and so forth, and I missed this one completely. It's called the Summer of Loud 2025 tour, and this is what bands, headlining worthy bands are doing right now. They're kind of ditching, in a way, the festivals, and they're creating their own tours that they're playing at like venues like Walnut Creek, for instance, on a local level here in Raleigh, North Carolina, your amphitheaters, etc., things like this. And this is where they get like about anywhere from 5 to 10 bands together, and they have like a mini festival. So the Summer of Loud 2025 tour is exactly that. Now check out this lineup, folks. This is absolutely amazing. Dark Divine, Kingdom of Giants, Alpha Wolf, The Devil Wears Prada, The Amity Affliction, Parkway Drive, I Prevail, Beartooth, and headlining the Summer of Loud 2025 tour and basically sponsoring the whole doggone thing is Kill Switch Engage. Now, what a lineup is that? That is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And where did this tour come from? I missed all of this. I missed all of the advertisements, all of the plugs for this one. It snuck up on me, and I just realized this a couple of weeks ago, really, that this tour was going on. Now, I want to tell you right now, this tour has been going on. Let me check my notes right here. This tour has been going on since July 1st Okay, so it's been one of those back-to-back-to-back suicide tours, and excuse me, it wraps up tomorrow night. Here's the good thing in Charlotte, North Carolina. So if they're in Bristow, Virginia tonight, in fact, just about right now at 8:30, I would say that either Beartooth or Killswitch Engage is getting ready to come on as we speak. Saturday night at 8:30. But it wraps up tomorrow in Charlotte. If you're able to make that trek out to Mecklenburg County for sure at the PNC Music Pavilion, the Summer of Loud 2025 tour will be wrapping things up for their North American leg and probably heading over to Europe thereafter. But that is just a show that snuck up on me that I wanted to give a shout out to, and especially since it's wrapping up tomorrow night and a local venue not too far away, 3 hours away from Raleigh, if you can make that drive. And if you don't have to do anything Monday morning, I would do it, folks. I'm telling you right now, I would go out and make that effort. But unfortunately, I have to work Sunday night, and I have to work Monday and Monday night too. So I'm not able to do that, and I've kind of given up on traveling outside of the Raleigh region for the last couple of years as far as tours go, and probably for the next couple of years. I'm just taking a break on outside of Wake County traveling for right now, and that's just the result of concerts crawling out of COVID. You know, I hate to reference everything to COVID, of course, as you guys know, but I'm not able to catch this tour, but I would if I had the money and the time, that's for sure. Wraps up in Charlotte again, Summer of Loud 2025 tour with Killswitch Engage headlining. Oh my goodness. Great lineup there. Great bill. All right, folks, let's switch scenes just a little bit and talk about Jane's Addiction. Now, as you know, Jane's Addiction last year, I want to say just almost about a year ago. It's almost been 12 months since they had that horrible, infamous altercation on stage where Perry Farrell flipped out a little bit, went ballistic, walked over to Navarro and punched him in the face, and I had a meltdown, basically ended the show and canceled the tour. Now, if you haven't been following it on social media platforms or the news, I'm going to take another sip of beer, excuse me. Jane's Addiction, the whole entire band, is now suing Perry Farrell. Now, you had to see this coming, right? This was not a surprise. You knew something was going to come of this when Mr. Farrell got on social media afterwards and apologized immensely, said he had an addiction problem, said he had other issues going on, and that he was trying to get help for it. And the band basically rejected this notion and said that that's the end of the tour, and that's basically the end of Jane's Addiction. So there were some premonitions that this was forthcoming. And, of course, now it's been filed. The lawsuit has been filed, of course. And, my only commentary on the whole lawsuit thing is really and truly good for these guys to have a meltdown like that and cause a fraction of sorts in the band of a huge magnitude like Perry Farrell did for Jane's Addiction. There's expense wise, there's consequences for that in and of itself, right? There's unimaginable costs that go into preparing for a tour, as far as like insurance goes for the tour, the band in and of itself, the venues, the venue setup, the tour staff and crew. I mean, they got to pay for all that. They have to pay for all that because all that's under contract. And when you have a meltdown like that, and you cause that much friction in a band, and you cause, the band to end in and of itself, and the tour to end, somebody's got to pay for all that, and that is just a fact. So, good for these guys for filing a lawsuit to recover all those costs first and foremost, and good for them just for suing Perry Farrell. I mean, and my commentary on that is really that you can't do drugs and alcohol. You can't abuse drugs and alcohol, quite frankly, after a certain age and not have there be consequences. You're either just going to be a sloppy fool, you're going to end up in jail, you're going to end up dead, or you're going to end up doing something stupid like this guy did. He was just so wasted at the show that he hauled off and punched his guitarist for no reason whatsoever. And this had been kind of festering and building up, but it's all can be contributed clearly to his drug and alcohol abuse. And you just can't do drug and alcohol at that age, without there being serious consequences, for Christ's sakes. You're not in your 20s anymore. You want some examples? I'll give you some examples. Chris Cornell is an example. Chester Bennington is an example. Scott Weiland is a perfect example of the fact that you can't do drugs like you did back when you were in your 20s without there being some serious consequences. And in this case, he's got to get straight and he's got to get right, because if he has more episodes like that, he's going to kill himself. Quite frankly, he's going to die. You just can't do that without there being serious consequences. And in this case, it looks like he's going to have to fork over some money, or there's going to be, some court ramifications, induced ramifications for sure over the whole thing. So it's unfortunate, but I do think that it was worthy. These guys have obviously taken their time and took almost a whole year to get things out, kind of stamped out from a legal perspective. And they have done their homework, folks. I have read the lawsuit. They have done their homework against this guy. They have not just, threw their hands back instantly and said, okay, well, we're going to sue, we'll sue you, and then, I'll sue you back and stuff like that. These guys took their time and put some money into this lawsuit, and Perry Farrell's going to pay for it, if you ask me. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out, and I will be following it and following up on it for sure, definitely. So that's Jane's Addiction's lawsuit versus Perry Farrell. They filed it just within the week, if I'm not mistaken. I think a lot of that got overshadowed by Ozzy's death. Speaking of Ozzy's death, let's talk about his death, which happened Tuesday afternoon. I believe he passed away Tuesday morning, but it wasn't officially announced until Tuesday afternoon, midday. And its impact, I gotta say, I want to say first and foremost that when I found out that Ozzy Osbourne passed away, I was sitting in my very high tech studio here in my apartment, which consists of a table and an Amazon microphone and a lamp, and a refurbished laptop. That's my high-tech studio. LOL. I was sitting here watching CNN when it broke. All right. So, of course, CNN, they have breaking news with everything. But this was serious breaking news. And so I'm sitting here. I recently got some old coins emailed to me or shipped to me. They're like Indian head pennies and wheat pennies. So I was rolling those up and putting those in protective covers. I was sitting here minding my own business. I hadn't necessarily gotten an early day off of work, but I had some time to take care of that kind of stuff, because recently I've been into collecting rare coins and so forth. So I'm sitting here minding my own beeswax, and I had CNN playing, and it said breaking news. So I said, oh boy, what is it, raining? Because everything's breaking news on CNN now. And it said the commentators came on and they said, it's very sad news in the metal world. Ozzy Osbourne has passed away. And let me just tell you folks right here and right now, no shame no shame whatsoever. I wept like a little baby. I really did. And it was just instantaneous reaction. I was overwhelmed, and I cried. I cried over it. And I have been around long enough to see, like things like the space shuttle disaster, like the Twin Towers when they came down on 9/11. For music-wise, I've been around to see Chester Bennington die, to see Scott Weiland, Chris Cornell, and I was sad when those people passed away and those events happened, but nothing hit me like this before, and I cannot even explain it to you. It was just, I cannot really just justify or explain anything how overwhelmed I became. I was literally just shedding tears. And as I tracked and watched and, felt the vibes of social media during the next 24 to 48 hours, tons and tons of people did the same thing. They felt the same way. This guy just had that kind of effect on us, and I really do think it's just a Generation Xer type of a vibe. Generation Xers in particular, we did not take this well. We are still trying to process this. I know I'm still trying to process it. I'm done weeping. I'm done being sad. I'm done just bawling tears for Ozzy. But I'm not done playing his music. I'm not done going through my vinyl catalog and counting how many Ozzy Osbourne albums I have and cleaning them and getting them to prestige condition and just getting all my Ozzy stuff out and going through it. The Osbourne collection, that I have, to include those. It's just had so much of an impact on Generation Xers in particular, because that was the peak, the huge peak era. That was like coming out of the 70s and going into the 80s when he made a name for himself with Sabbath and with his solo career. And those were some of the greatest concerts, to catch. And then to start a whole new generational thing of the Ozfest, which I went to for I think 12 years running. And I have all the ticket stubs and picture frames and programs to prove it. Just an amazing career, and such great influence. The first time I got into Ozzy Osbourne, I got to tell this story like I'm sure a lot of people have told this story. I went out and bought. Now I knew Ozzy Osbourne and I knew Black Sabbath, right? I wasn't so much at the time into his solo career, but I went out and I bought an album called "We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll." Now, if anybody knows this album, it's a black album, and all of the S's in the album cover are in Sabbath red. Really, really cool stuff. If you flip it over, it's got a picture of Ozzy Osbourne holding a cross or a candle. I can't remember which. I think it's one of those candle holders, and it's got a close up of his hand that says Ozzy across the front of it. And it's basically, up until that time, a greatest hits album of albums 1 through 4, right? Keep albums 1 through 4 in mind, by the way, just as a little hint forthcoming. But I bought that album. I opened it up. I bought the vinyl version, of course. I still have it to this day. And I opened it up, and it was just so absolutely incredible. I was mesmerized. I kept it on my turntable for weeks at a time. Invited my friends over to listen to it, who weren't into Ozzy. They might have been into Ozzy just a little bit, but they had never really heard of Black Sabbath. And I kept trying to explain to them, this is Ozzy Osbourne's original band. Yeah, and none of my friends at the time wanted to hear of it until, the 1990s, when Ozzy brought back Ozfest and brought back Black Sabbath in the late 1990s. So We Sold Our Souls for Rock and Roll was my first Black Sabbath album, and from then it was just an addiction. It was Blizzard of Oz, Bark at the Moon, The Ultimate Sin. You know, it was just amazing after that, the career that he had. So he had such an influence on metalheads in particular, and with his doom and gloom Black Sabbath. You know, I've listened to interviews of a lot of people who are in the heavy metal business, and a lot of people who are just metalheads like myself. And the thing about Black Sabbath is they created really the doom and gloom heavy metal sound. I think Rob Zombie said it best, if Black Sabbath did it first. They did everything first, whether it was back and forth or up and down or backwards or forwards or sideways. Black Sabbath did it first. They're the original origins of heavy metal music, and bless them for doing what they did, without question, and bless them for doing that July 5th show and having Ozzy, you know, have the strength enough to make it through it. The last song, of course, they did with the Ozzy Osbourne band was Mama, I'm Coming Home, and of course the last song they did with Black Sabbath was Paranoid. So if you missed it, too bad. You guys should have taken my advice on the last Metalhead Michael program and bought that virtual ticket, because that was something else to plug into my 60-inch TV. It really was. And it was an amazing, amazing show. And just bless all the metalheads out there for tuning in and watching Ozzy do his final performance before he died a couple of weeks later this past Tuesday. Excuse me. Again, Generation Xers, we are not okay with this. We are not taking this well at all. We are still, just a couple of days later, 4 or 5 days later, still trying to process it, right? And I harp on and focus Generation Xers because I don't think baby boomers get Ozzy Osbourne. I don't think baby boomers get Black Sabbath. I think to baby boomers, he's just a loud, obnoxious kind of guy. Maybe there's some boomers out there that do get it, but I think Generation Xers in particular grew up on, like I said, on him throughout the mid to late 70s into the 80s, and of course into the 90s, in particular. X and Y's, I think, get Ozzy Osbourne for sure. I don't want to take anything away from them, but I think it's kind of like, oh, well, you know, this guy was inspirational and an icon, and he died, and I'm sorry that he died, and, you know, that kind of is the totality of the whole thing. Whereas Generation Xers, we wept when he died. We shed some serious tears when he died, and we are still not okay with it. We're still processing it for sure. So that's Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne, huge influence in the metal world, and God rest his soul, bless his heart. I hope he's up there in heaven with Randy Rhoads, with all the rest of his friends like Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead, of course, and I just know he's looking down on us. I think Rob Halford said it best that, you know, it's a tough time for all of us, but if Ozzy was here and him looking down on us, he'd want us to go to that next rock concert, go to that next heavy metal concert, lean on your fellow metalhead throughout this tough time, get through it, keep going to shows, keep metal music alive for sure. That's exactly what he would want us to do. So that's what we need to do for sure to continue without question. All right, folks, that's all I got for this episode program of Metalhead Michael. And I thank you dearly for listening and all your support. Keep your horns raised always. And don't forget that I am on Blue Sky. I'm on X. I'm on YouTube under Metalhead Michael. And I'm under my own personal name, Michael Clegg, with the Black Godsmack logo with YouTube as well for my concert footage. And I thank you all for everything. All your support. But we will get through this. We will get to the death of Ozzy for sure. And we will carry on. Peace out, my friends. Precious. Have a great weekend and a great rest of the summer. I'll be back on just as soon as I possibly can.